Welcome to the I Am One podcast, where we talk to perinatal mental health advocates, professionals, and educators supporting the mission of Postpartum Support International. We're not afraid to ask our guests about the hardest parts of pregnancy and postpartum because we know that PSI has tools and resources to help in every situation, and everyone should know about them.
Whether you are among the 1 in 5 moms, 1 in 10 dads, one of many trans or non-binary parents, or you're one professional or advocate committed to helping folks in need, you are also one of us.
I'm your host, Danny Giddens, and I am 1 in 5. I didn't know what to call what I was experiencing after becoming a parent and felt too scared at the time to speak up.
Not anymore. Now she won't stop talking about it. Hi, I'm your co-host, Emily Jankowski. I am also 1 in 5, and I want you to know that mental health complications are common, but they aren't normal.
There's something powerful in knowing I am one of many. Whether you're already connected to the perinatal mental health world, looking for new ways to support parents and families, or just want to hang out with us in your earbuds, we are so glad that you tuned in.
Of course they want to hang out with us. We're lovely. Seriously, though, the views, thoughts, and opinions expressed on this pod are the speaker's own. Tuning into this podcast is, spoiler alert, not a replacement for therapy, but PSI can help you find a therapist. We could also help you find a psychiatrist, a support group, or Waldo.
Emily, Waldo? Come on! We don't know where Waldo is.
Okay, fine. PSI help seekers can find peer support and resources in their area.
At PSI, we want you to know you are not alone, you are not to blame, and with help, you will be well. On today's episode, we're sitting down with the lovely Cecily Beane Cullinan, postpartum doula, Kindermusik Teacher extraordinaire, and an incredible human who used her lived experience with perinatal mental health disorders to volunteer in PSI's Peer Mentor program. That's where we met. We'll chat about not knowing what's quote-unquote normal as a new parent, falling through the cracks in the healthcare system, and a pie-in-the-sky dream. We'll also hear one of the best sandwich hacks since sliced bread. So without any further ado, please enjoy this episode with our friend Cecily. Cecily, welcome to the podcast studio. We are so happy to be sitting down with you today. We go way back to 2021 when we both volunteered. Actually, all three of us volunteered in the Peer Mentor program in 2021. Here we are, 3 years later. We get to catch up on all things perinatal mental health with you, chat a little bit about your lived experience, and hear what you're up to today. So we're just so glad that you're here.
Yeah, I'm really, really excited to be here and have a chat with you both, and hopefully, just reach people who need to hear the messages that you're covering in all of these episodes. And I think that's probably my biggest motivation for reaching out to you to say like, hey, I want to be on it. As I think all of us know, it's that isolation and like loneliness and feeling totally disconnected that compounds everything in a postpartum mental health struggle for sure. So yeah, I'm super excited.
Cecily, could you give us a little bit of an introduction to who you are?
Gosh, let's see. Okay, who am I? This is a really good question.
The age-old question that parents ask themselves, and now we're asking you.
Start on a high level. Favorite pizza topping, like what state you live in, if you'd like to tell us. Sure. High level stuff. Okay, all right. Favorite pizza topping is ricotta, I have to say. I love the ricotta on the pizza.
How have we not asked this question before? This is important.
It's top level. So I live in upstate New York. I'm originally from the Boston area. It's weird to think like eventually I probably will have lived where I live now longer than I lived in Massachusetts, but like you always consider that your home, your home territory. At least I do. I have 3 kids who are 15, 13, and going to be 10, the youngest in April. I love music, and so I teach Kindermusik, which is like an international program to little people. Just 2 classes a week. I've been doing that for 6 years, like pretty part-time, but got certified to teach Kindermusik.
Babies and toddlers or?
Yes.
Oh,
so
fun.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's kind of how one of the ways in which I emerged from postpartum mental health struggles was like going to a Kindermusik class. Then I met somebody there with my first baby. Met someone there who was like just a similarly minded person. And then we became really good friends, and she had a baby the same age. And once I was like out of super young babies in my own life after my third, if you haven't done work all along, outside of the home, I found myself like, okay, what else is out there for me to do, having kind of put on hold a career for a while. Kindermusik was kind of like a natural, like do something that's I love, music and singing, and then also connect with families and give moms and dads and families a place to bring their babies, enjoy music. I still do that, which is it's kind of now a cool overlap with the postpartum doula work I've gotten into in the past couple of years.
I have a follow-up question. So it's like you sort of kind of went around this a little bit, but you were talking about like how you emerged from how did you land in a place where you needed to emerge from?
Yes. Yeah.
Like perinatal mental health wise.
Yes. Yeah. I'll back it up to
beep, beep.
Just
back it up.
Back it up. Yeah. I moved from the Boston area in 2006 for somebody I was in a relationship with. And so it was a little bit of a leap because I didn't know this area very well. My brother and sister-in-law at the time were living in the area. So then, I got a job in higher education administration, which is what I was doing in Boston.
That's what we both did.
Yeah.
Is that another
in our
overlap?
Previous life.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. Student affairs. Whoop, whoop.
Yes.
So I got a job in a local university admissions office, which I hadn't done admissions before, but actually that's when the only time I've ever been to the West Coast and your neck of the woods was for admissions counselor travel.
Oh, yeah. I got to go recruit.
Yeah.
Did you go to Seattle?
Pre-babies. I did. Yes, I did.
Well,
I did.
There we Good people there.
Go. Yeah.
That's what I hear.
Totally. Anyway, got that job, working there for a couple of years. In between that, got married. I always knew I wanted to have babies, wanted to be a mom. So it all kind of happened. I got pregnant and was due in November of 2008. And also was in a fortunate situation where I could stay home, which is, I'm aware that's not an option for many, many people. So I knew I was appreciative of that, very appreciative. So I stopped working in like October of 2008, doing all the assembling a crib and blah, 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 and really felt ready. I felt ready. And
so there was no
no. Yes. Right. Great question.
Signs at that point.
Nothing.
Interesting.
Nothing.
Okay.
During pregnancy, totally enjoy good pregnancy. I was going to a midwife practice. I was like, all right, I'm going to have that thing going on,
Right.
I mean, and this is something I thought of later, but I hadn't ever really experienced depression or anxiety or recognized it as that,
Okay.
Maybe I had,
okay.
but it was minimal if it was there, I never had felt that sort of experience. So, fast forwarding, it just blindsided me what was going on, which I think can happen.
How soon after delivery did you notice? Were you immediate? Was it you get home, you look around at your life a couple weeks later? That was what it was for me.
Yeah, no, it was, it was not immediate at all. So I was a few hours away from my family, right? And when I had moved out, I started working, and that was my social network, right? So I stopped working and was in this beautifully renovated farmhouse, but by myself. And it was a rural area. I didn't grow up in a super rural area. I grew up in kind of a charming New England villagey place, so walking to the penny candy store and blah, blah, blah. And then it was also 2008 was the Great Recession, bad, scary. And so, my husband at the time was self-employed. And so it was the max stress, that could have been on everybody at that time, just very, very stressful time. So those are all the like external circumstances that were going on. My delivery there was a trip to the hospital thinking, okay. And then they knew I was like wanting to try to avoid medication. So they said, just go home. The midwife was like, go home, drink some wine and take some Benadryl. You really need to sleep. And I was like,
oh God.
Okay. Anyway, delivery was long. It happened. But in retrospect, I don't know how. I feel like the midwife who caught the baby had to like pull my placenta out. Like it didn't. I didn't deliver it. And I never saw it actually. Which I feel like generally they do that. They show you. I also remember I passed out in the bathroom. And there was like a code, oh my God, get everybody in. So blood loss stuff. So after the whole experience, you're tired and anything. Went home. One of the most challenging things about having a baby, and particularly if you don't have somebody there who, like a birth doula, you don't know what's normal. You don't know. And I mean, and that carries in through postpartum as well. You don't know is the baby supposed to be projectile vomiting? I don't really know. You have no bar to measure anything to. So you're like, I don't know, I guess. So get home, you're tired. You think you're supposed to be tired all the time. Okay. So a month later, I'll never forget the day because there was a crazy ice storm, December 11th, 2008, and it happens to be my sister's birthday. I started hemorrhaging at home and couldn't stop it. So I had to call my husband at the time and I said, I don't know. I can't stop. And like my baby was in a bouncy seat right in front of me. So he's just like a month old, I didn't want to get off the toilet because, so anyway, scary, very scary. Ambulance ride to the hospital for an emergency D&C, presumably retained placenta.
Placenta.
So
okay.
If the midwife had to kind of struggle to get my placenta out, maybe pulled anyway, I don't know. I'll never know. Right. But also on top of that, breastfeeding, which is not as intuitive as like everybody would like to present it to be. It's work and it takes
1 month in, you're still working out the kinks and figuring out the latch.
Still looks like
you for baby. Yeah.
And he wasn't gaining weight. Right. So you get this message from the doctor's office, like, okay, try to wake him up and feed him an extra time. Meanwhile, I'm not getting enough sleep as it is. Yeah. The Great Recession is making it very hard for my husband at the time to be very involved, because his life is on the line. His livelihood is at stake. And so all of that, right? So the emergency D&C was good, successful. Like that had to happen. The hospital was running on generators because of the ice storm, which is crazy.
Good grief.
So I got home. Yeah, I know. I got home and I guess I just want to say too, like, this is my story with all these, but everybody has like these set of circumstances, right? And when you hear somebody else telling you, you're like, oh my gosh, that must have been so hard. And so I don't want to play my story up as any different than anyone else's struggle. It doesn't matter whether it's 4 extenuating circumstances or 1,
Yeah. Sometimes even 1.
And it's such an elusive thing to define or articulate. That's what I have found.
Because I think what you're saying is like we all look back at some point and go like, what led me to feel so depressed or anxious or just crappy, right?
Right.
Like so failure-y as a mother or something.
It's much less about us as people, much more about what's going on for us at the time. And
yes.
Yeah.
Totally.
And how can you pinpoint that? I don't think you really can. That's what you're saying.
And
like
to piggyback, like how can you prepare for that? Right. You can't say, oh, well, there might be an economic crash happening and I'd better get ready for that,
Let's
or whatever.
Prepare for the potential ice storm. Never know.
Which doesn't mean you shouldn't plan, but it also means that like you can't go, but I planned to prevent this. So, and it still happened. And somehow that's like some moral failing on our parts.
Yeah,
Absolutely not. Like that just means the circumstances.
Totally. You could have the most complicated, intricately detailed birth plan, and that could go out the window. I mean, like there's only so much you can plan for.
I've seen, circumstances with my postpartum doula clients where they look like they have their ducks in a row, got this lined up and that, and things still go awry, or they still feel it's hard some days. So I would say probably, January of 2009, I just started to feel this fog, I just started to feel like I was functioning. I never was worried about my baby's safety or like that I wasn't capable of doing what needed to be done. But I just felt like I was a zombie kind of going through the motions of every day. Yeah, that whole thing of like sleeping with a baby is, of course, now when you're so far removed from it, it's like, when you're in the midst of it and in the thick of it, it can sometimes feel like you're stuck.
I'm trapped underneath this sleeping baby.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
I've actually just been thinking about like, I want to do a reel because thank God for captions, right? And all these reels where like, I think probably half the new moms watching, of course you have your phone on mute so you don't wake your baby up, but like you're nap trapped and the captions are
nap trap.
Yeah.
Nap trap.
Yeah. Nap trap.
That
exactly.
was my life. Yeah.
Yeah. I just kind of felt like this foggy, cloudy feeling. And I really didn't know what was happening. This is where I feel like the maternal healthcare system sucks. And people fall through, they're not like just cracks, but they're like gaping chasms. Opportunities for me to have been caught and held and walked through a difficult time were there, but I feel like I just slipped through. Because I was obsessively going to get the baby weighed because the breastfeeding wasn't going well. The weight check, the weight checks. So, anxious. So for sure the anxiety started to ramp up with that, which it's really easy to have that happen, I feel, because it all promotes anxiety. You got to make this baby grow and be okay. This visiting pediatrician pulled me into a separate room. I can't remember if I was holding my baby or not, but she was like, have you heard of something called postpartum depression? And I don't know. It was like the least helpful thing. I mean, I think she thought she was being helpful, but what do you do with that in that moment? If I am, what do I do now? Like, what do I need? I don't really know. Could I have some help? It almost made me feel worse that she said that in some ways. I do think she was trying to, she could see it in me, that I was like.
She could see the overwhelm.
The anxiety about the weight and like just my demeanor, I'm sure kind of screamed like postpartum depression, anxiety. But it's tough because a pediatrician's role is not that. My pie in the sky dream is to be hired as a postpartum doula by a pediatrician's office,
Now
and
that
just like after the doctor takes care of the baby, does their thing, I go in and, check in with the new parents, So
that's a great idea.
Yeah, was. Thank you. You heard it here first, folks.
You heard it here first.
Trademark that, everybody.
Yeah. TM.
We got it. It's already done. Saved here.
A huge piece is like social connection, right? And peer support. In our lovely country of America, it's not it's not like always that accessible, to find your people, find your group of, peer support. I tried. Oh my God. I felt like my mom was coming out when she could to stay for a night or two. And I remember driving with her and saying, why is this so hard? I was going to like every freaking library in my area to try to find a mom's group or a library baby thing. I was like, it was I remember her saying to me like, okay, this is your job right now. But I felt a little like a zombie, doing it. But I just kept going to try to meet people. And what's really hard is like, it's not just about meeting people. Like I was meeting people, but it's about like meeting your people.
Connecting, really.
Yeah, connecting,
really
exactly.
And a lot of times the places where you are most likely to meet the people that you're going to connect with the best, it's like the babies are the same age, or it's you're at a specific type of activity, like a music class for babies, right?
Yeah.
Because you have music in common, and therefore there's already like a little bit of a common thread.
Yes.
But those are harder to find and often not free.
Right. The library's things are free. I always say that to clients, I remember saying to a friend on the phone, like, I just don't really feel like myself, and hearing all of these things now, it's like, ding, 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 ding,
check,
all
check,
the,
check.
Yeah. But I was just kind of coping and didn't really know what the answer was going to be for me. I do think had anybody been paying any bit closer attention, I could have had some more significant assistance with like maybe medication or therapy or I don't know, something at the time. I remember saying that it felt like I had lead boots on and I was like, zhunk, zhunk, just like, like I was doing it, but like, is this supposed to be this hard?
So hard.
It's taking everything out of me to put one foot in front of the other.
Yeah. And I'm somebody who's engaged and I love talking to people. I mean, I like my quiet time too, but like I'm lively, when I'm in that zone, you know what I mean? I was like a very muted kind of zombie ghosty version of myself, foggy, cloudy. I just kept going to libraries. I was like maybe like obsessed with libraries. So I went to this one like library babies play group and my gosh, trying to meet people as it felt like dating, but like a new mom, you're like
100%.
It totally is dating.
Yes.
Awkward.
Where you're like, hi,
real weird.
I have my baby's 9 months old or whatever.
It's like, it is like speed dating. You only have so much time before your baby throws a fit and like before you're interrupted by like a blowout or crying and or something.
Totally.
And then it's like, okay, you got to speed date this person.
Yeah.
If you think maybe there's a connection, exchange numbers.
Do it.
It's like, I never thought I was going to have to do this again.
I know. Yes.
And then you're trying to vet them on what's the most important stuff, which how do you even know? Because I think 5-10 minutes ago, we all said, who am I? At one point in this conversation. So we don't know.
Yes. So I went to this library, baby story time, whatever it was, and walked in, like I wasn't walking in with anybody other than my baby who was like 6 months old at the time. So like to kind of muster the oomph to do that in the first place, never mind undiagnosed with depression, anxiety, it was like a Herculean task to get there and walk in that room. I was looking around and I've told this woman who's since moved away from my area, but before she moved away, I wrote her a long note saying like, I just want you to know how impactful you have been were in my life at that time. I have to set the scene. So it's like, there's this little kind of play Jimmy thing. This woman has like a red cashmere sweater on and like
fancy
black like leather
Playground
pants.
Fancy.
Yeah.
Fancy.
And
I'm into it.
She's walking past her 9-month-old, following him. And in any other universe, I would have been like, I will never be friends with that. Like, that is not my type, not to judge dressing up. Hey, go for it. But
it's intimidating when someone else feels like super put together.
Yeah,
and you maybe don't feel super put together.
On. Yeah, I had sweatpants on. I had maybe put deodorant on. I don't really know. Anyway, she was so friendly though, and she said, "Hey, how old is your baby?" She was chasing her 9-month-old who was walking early. It was just this lifeline. I think so much about that, where you sometimes just need one person to say the one thing, to you, to like, know you're okay. You're going to be okay. She said, some friends are starting like a group, a mom's group. And I was like, yes, please, thank you.
Yeah.
So she took
That's
my
the
email
moment.
address. That was the moment. That was the Lifeline, was that group that met every Monday at 3:30. I was
Monday playgroup.
out the door to make it there for all the things. And for me, that like fully helped me emerge. Then that fall, the following fall, so fall of 2009 was when I enrolled in a Kindermusik class with and met a really, really, really good friend who I'm still like dear friends with now. So it was like a combination of social connection and peer support that I feel like I got some wind in my sails, But this is what I think about and talk about a lot is like, did I have to endure that struggle? I feel like in most cases there could be better systems in place and more integrated support and like infrastructure where like we could really minimize the number of struggles or shorten the amount of time, that women experience in a postpartum mental health struggle, I feel like there's definitely many windows of opportunity for that.
Did you ever mention anything to your doctor, anybody, any medical professional, like when you were in that postpartum period and you were probably, experiencing anxiety and depression?
Yeah.
Were you undiagnosed? Because
never diagnosed. Self-diagnosed. These things I say I will never forget because I won't. But I was on a phone call with one of the midwives. So I was seeing like a midwife practice, and it was a very symbolic phone call because like the reception was awful and she was breaking up, and we were talking about like breastfeeding and an antidepressant, but she was like, and then the phone call broke up and it was like, I was just like grasping for anything, that was in that early month before I hemorrhaged. And that's another spot where I did call the nurse that was part of the midwife practice. So this is probably like 2 weeks in, I don't know, saying, am I like, I'm just calling about my bleeding because XYZ. And, it's kind of a rote reply. To get back to what we were talking about earlier, it's like, you don't really know what's normal, and unless someone tells you, no, it should not be that much. It should not look like this, look like that. Come on in right now,
That's a good point. It requires two things. It requires the parent to like be willing to slog through all the boundaries that it's going to take to get into the office, like
100%.
Packing the baby up, all those things. But then it's also going to take the provider sitting back and asking and then listening.
Yeah.
And I think we're in this like everything can only take 15 minutes, right? For a lot of providers, they're under pressure to make sure that everything's very fast. And if they have to do that, how are they asking and then getting to the answers that they really need to know?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't really know what the perfect formula is, but at its default, our system is not the formula. It's not serving people the best way. In a related issue, there's the whole issue of kind of accessibility to support services and, Black and brown mortality rates. And I mean, that's a whole separate issue about like who has access to what. Everybody should have access to a certain amount of postpartum support, and in many other countries in the world, it's just better, I think, based on my research and based on like reading and following things. It's just like more integrated. But I also I've learned a lot about just postpartum care for women in many other countries is kind of treated as a sacred time. And it's like in China, they have this sitting the month. I won't try to say it in Mandarin, but I don't know if either of you listened to The Longest, Shortest Time. Did you listen to any of that podcast?
No.
And I can't think of her name right now. One of her guests was a woman who's Chinese but was in America, but her mother came and like made her sit the month. She kind of walked you through as a listener. She's like, I haven't washed my hair in 10 days, but my mom won't let me. It was really funny. It was really funny. And in other countries, I think there's kind of just treating that real, like it's a finite window of time, but treating it with like a sacredness that we don't have here,
Let's bring it back. So peer support played a giant role in you getting through that foggy time. You didn't know about PSI, I'm assuming.
No.
At the time. How did PSI like
come
in
my
your
radar?
orbit?
I remember just feeling like suddenly called to somehow do something, in this arena. I don't know. I think I just started kind of searching for like maybe postpartum support. I'm not really sure, but I landed on Karen Wachenheim as like she's a local, but she's in my area, I think. A hotline.
Hi, Karen. Are you listening?
Karen,
can you hear us?
Anyway, I called her. She called me back and kind of said, you know what, I'm going to connect you with the people who were on the ground with the peer mentor program. Yeah. And so I had some conversations. It was email. It was like, well, why don't we do the interview? So I like got in under the wire to be in the pilot program.
Great. First cohort. So maybe that
was
round one.
Was it during COVID? I don't really remember.
I started in the second cohort, which was in early 2021. So you slipped in 2020.
Yeah.
You're ahead of me. Yeah.
I don't remember that. Okay. Anyway.
Or I don't know.
A lot of content.
Honestly,
we're all
that was,
people.
It's not a contest, Emily? Okay. Well, I'll remind you of that another time. All right.
I got connected with that. And so then I kind of started with a mentee, and had a few after, I think in total I had a few. It was a really good exercise in realizing how important it is just to listen and also, but that piece of them knowing that I know, like I get it on some level. You can't fake it. You can't fake like, I really understand where you're at if you haven't been there,
And I think that's a thing that so many people need to just know that somebody else gets it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I was thinking about that in preparation for today. Just, I'm sure the percentage of people who are involved in organizations like PSI and or doing birth doula work, postpartum doula work, it's like probably 99.8% are motivated to be in it because of having had a difficult time or seeing problems with the system and wanting to improve it. And, that empathy is critical. It is critical.
My theory is that's the secret sauce.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
It's the combination of being a little bit mad or a little bit frustrated or a little bit whatever, or a lot bit of any of those things.
Yeah.
With the system or your experience or whatever.
Sure.
And deep empathy for like not wanting someone else to go through it.
I think you're right. That's actually a good analysis of it, because that is totally it, where, I feel like, nobody should have to struggle very long anyway. Why is it that we can't have kind of a postpartum care center that's like part of a hospital or whatever? I just feel like there's lots of other models in other areas of the world. And, we can go on a lovely little side tangent here about the structure of our society being patriarchal. If we look at the like structures, right, of what's available, what's accessible in other countries, I don't know. What does it say that there's these amazing postpartum care centers that are easily accessible? In that fog, it was like, I just can't even make a phone call. I can't make one more phone call. I just was like so on the floor, in terms of like having the gumption, having the oomph in me to be proactive and advocate for myself. I think that's what the big thing is like within our system, you have to be like your biggest advocate ever at a time when you have the least possible amount of energy to give to anything.
Yes.
Other than like making food,
You have to bring like, the cable bill is wrong energy. I'm making a phone call to customer service to your postpartum medical care. Like that's
Totally.
no one has that kind of energy during that period. Neither parent, if there are two parents in the home.
Knowing who to even call. Where's my first phone call? I don't even know. But I know something's not right with me, inside me. And in my mind, I feel like it was probably glaringly obvious. Oh my gosh, I went multiple times to the hospital where I had my baby to speak with the lactation consultant, pulled me into a room to watch me nurse. She said, "You're doing a great job." I was not in a good place, but I was like, okay, she says I'm doing a good job. I don't know. And I remember a different time where a midwife who was like on the floor. And this is where I feel like, okay, if you saw this mom come in, you sat her down and she said, some like war veterans use this technique to get bad images out of their mind. She was like teaching me how to rapid eye movement under your eyelids to make me not feel so anxious. I was like, would you not kind of make sure she left with a piece of paper in her hand to call so-and-so like right now,
Yes. That's it. That's it. The reality is like PSI is on a lot more radars now
so good
than we used to be, but we're not in every hospital. We're not on every floor. We're not with every lactation consultant. And until we are, the work isn't done. Like we're going to keep telling these stories. We're going to keep needing, peer support, supporters. We're going to still need support group leaders. We're going to still need climb leaders. Like we're going to need coordinators in every city and every county in the US until
who are like, blah, 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 here I am, like red neon. If somebody had said, hey, here's the PSI hotline. This is a support group. You can just jump in. Or, there's so much more that's accessible to people, which is incredible.
I also love that you can text for all of those of us like me who are like real scared to call somebody, talk to a real person on the phone.
Totally.
It's kind of scary. You can totally text. I would have felt much more comfortable with an option like that, which is incredible. And there's super great people on the other side of the line.
I would imagine both of you could agree that like there's this, I don't know if I felt shame, but like you think you're supposed to know what the heck you're doing. And then if you don't, you think, why don't I know what I'm doing? I was ready for this.
Say about
like
me?
I wanted this. We have this romantic notion that it's all going to be rosy peachy and or that we're not supposed to talk about the ways in which it's not. And I feel like that's a disservice, to just like be real. Like I do love my baby. I want them here, but oh my God, I am tired of spreading Boudreaux's butt paste on their nether region or whatever it is, I think that can be really powerful for people to just have space. And actually, Krista Malte, who was on
shout out to Krista.
Great trainer, postpartum doula trainer. She used the expression a lot in the training of like holding space, and it was a little new to me at the time, but I really feel the power of that now. Especially now, where you're just like giving room for all the things that might be hard to say or even feel, like even know that you're feeling it.
You are providing all the kinds of support that you needed as a new parent.
Which you can see why the title,
now.
The fake long title I came up with for this episode was maybe too little long.
I am when podcast guests get to name their own episodes, and Cecily sent me a real long one. So whatever you see,
and you're like, I didn't ask you to
on
write
your
a book.
favorite podcast platform.
Scroll.
That's the shortened version. Yeah, that's the shortened version.
Oh, and what it was that I am doing what I wish I had. This is what I'm doing. So I was jokingly saying I transversed the time-space continuum and then, have gone back in time.
I love that title.
Yeah.
Emily's really into space.
Nice.
I like science fiction.
Okay. Very good.
I think this is the perfect time to do something
Let's do it.
Real exciting. Should we make lightning sounds? It's the lightning round. Everybody,
I'm in.
We would love to ask you some quick, fun questions about yourself. So
we started
let's
with the
get
pizza. Okay, but anyway.
I mean, that
That's
was
true.
that was impromptu.
Yeah.
That was impromptu. We started off with the lightning round, and we're gonna kind of come full
The
circle
teaser.
and end with it
Full
too.
circle.
Yes. Can you tell us? I mean, obviously, besides this podcast, what's your second favorite podcast that you'd like to recommend?
Okay, I'm really into Armchair Expert right now.
Oh yeah, Dex
Oh.
Shepard. Right?
Yeah, and Monica Padman. I really like that. But David Ferrier is like a New Zealander who's like a sub. They have all those sub podcasts within Armchair under the umbrella of Armchair.
Oh, right. Okay.
So anyway, David Ferrier is this New Zealander his podcast in particular, and there's been a little hiatus. I don't know where he's been, but I'm anxious to come back. He talks about all things American because he's like trying to understand American culture.
Is it funny?
It's hysterical. He's done a whole one on Disney adults, adults who love going to Disney.
You're telling me that people are obsessed with Disney as adults here. Okay, I need to learn more about this.
Yes.
Cool.
All things American culture. So that's one. I love We Can Do Hard Things is a great one.
Oh yeah.
God, yes.
Shout out to Glennon and Abby and sister.
Yeah, call us. Hello.
Call us. You want to be on the pod?
I think I need to be on if that happens too.
Yeah, there are some things we could talk about.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah,
for sure. A SmartLess is really fun too. I like listening.
Oh, SmartLess.
That is
Wendy
Executive Director Wendy Davis. Yep. That's her favorite.
They're funny. Love them.
Also, they should call us.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if that'll happen, but
I know, right?
Hey, Cecily.
I'm sorry.
Don't smash our hopes. Call us.
Are you binge watching or reading anything real good?
Yes. I just finished Wrexham. It's on Hulu about Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney bought a football club in North Wales. I love accents. It's like full of fun accents to listen to.
Yeah, it's called Welcome to Wrexham.
Welcome to Wrexham. It's not Scottish. I'm giving it a Scottish accent. That's wrong.
It's Welsh.
Welsh, North Wales.
Yeah, that's totally different.
Misidentifying. Sorry. So that was fantastic. That took me a while, but I finished it.
It's so good.
It was very good. Also, I binge watched over the weekend, Desperately Seeking Soulmates, Twin Flames Universe. Do you know about the Twin Flames, this phenomenon? These two people, it's kind of a cult. Anyway, look into it. Documentary.
Desperately Seeking
Soulmates, Twin Flames Universe.
Is this like watching Real Housewives? Like, are we going to be like,
no, it's not. It's not. It's like following the story of these two people, Jeff and Shalea, who are each other's twin flames, and they then are promoting this whole ethos of like, you are destined to find your twin flame, and so then it's all online.
It's a soulmate.
It's creepy because they also like really
go ahead and Google it.
Messed up some people, messed up some people's lives. It's culty for sure.
So watch it or don't.
I got sucked in. It was a three-parter. I watched it.
What's your best parenting hack?
Oh,
okay. Hot tips.
All right. Hot tips. How to deal with the end of the loaf of bread and make it part of your kid's sandwich so they don't know that you're giving them the butt end of the bread.
I'm listening.
Flip it. You flip the bread inside out.
Okay. They don't need to see what's in the middle.
They don't know.
They don't need to know.
The butt end.
They're gonna know.
Nobody's gonna know.
They're gonna know.
You can do it. And having like a snack bin in the car is a hack.
Okay.
I'm not one of those people who is like, no eating in the car, because that just wouldn't fly. So I have like a snack supply in the car because everyone gets in and is like, I'm hungry, no matter what.
Right.
So I probably would have a whole list of like baby related hacks, but
no, I think that's great. Butt end of the bread. Nobody's talked about the butt end of the bread yet.
Flip it.
Way to talk about the thing that we all know we needed to talk about.
Okay, this next question goes back to your title a little bit. So we're gonna go in like a little time machine. What would today you tell you when you like really needed to hear the right thing?
Yeah. I was thinking about this earlier, and I think, well, one part of it would be like, it's okay to ask for help. Because you just think you're supposed to know how to get through it. You think you're supposed to know how to do all the things. And like, it's okay to ask for help. Those for sure were things I needed to hear. I don't know, because I feel like I thought I was trying to get help. So it's like, how do you kind of prepare yourself to be an advocate, like a strong advocate? You're at your least fortified state. Yeah.
That's a good one. I think we all just need to hear that.
Yeah. No, it's true.
So we'll just keep saying it. We'll just keep saying it over and over again.
Yeah.
To all the other people.
But you are not alone. You know, that's big too, because I felt for sure like alone.
Isolated.
Yeah.
How are you going to show yourself some radical love today? Radical.
I'm going to make sure I make my cup of yogi bedtime tea later.
Does that really set the scene?
Yeah, it's
for
good.
Bedtime? Yeah.
It tastes delicious, and each of the tags have a message.
Teabag wisdom.
Yeah.
Boom.
That are good, that are good. I feel like it's like a little moment, that I enjoy my tea, I read my message. And so I think that'll
little
be
mindful moment at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Great. Well, Cecily,
wait
this has
a
been
minute.
So much fun. What?
How do you take your water?
Oh, geez.
Hello.
This was not on the list of questions.
No,
I'm still struggling to stay hydrated, Danny. We have to ask the people.
Still conducting research. Cecily, how do you like to drink water? Tap water, sparkling water? You like to add something to it to,
like cucumbers and mint?
Make it palatable?
No, that's very
strong feelings about that.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel like making it be too much is like, then you're not going to drink water. I drink like flat. I do have a Brita filter, just tap water.
Okay.
I love seltzer though. So like I have usually like a seltzer, can of seltzer with my lunch. I like
favorite flavor?
I like the burp. Pomegranate. I like pomegranate.
Okay. All right. I feel like we really know you now. Okay.
Oh, you do. You do.
It's like a peek into your soul right now.
It is hard to stay hydrated though. I will say.
Yeah.
It is hard.
Especially in the winter. It's winter when we're recording this.
Yeah. Agreed.
I think we've done it. Cecily, this has been fantastic.
Awesome. Yeah.
I have one last question before we wrap up. What if somebody has heard this podcast episode and would like to reach out to you? Maybe they live in the Round Lake area.
Oh,
right?
yes.
You are the Round Lake doula, aren't you?
I am.
Or something resonated. How could people get a hold of you?
For my hands-on, in-person support, yes, you have to live within like 30 miles of me, but in the capital region is what we call this area. Albany's the capital. Smallbany. Some people like to call it Smallbany.
Okay.
My website is roundlakedoula.com. I'm on Instagram at roundlakedoula, Facebook as well. But also I'm really trying to promote like virtual support. So honestly, anybody can reach out from anywhere and we can set up some type of virtual support, along the lines of, PSI stuff. But I just feel like it's really hard because I'm one person. And I mean, I feel so strongly about the work I can do when I'm in someone's house with them. And that's like the pinnacle of my support. But just like we've talked about, sometimes it's just one or two conversations, or somebody knows where you're at and like can talk to you again next week and talk to you again the following week. And then you're kind of launched and you're doing better and you got a road forward. So I'm hoping to be able to reach even more people.
Thank you so much for coming and for sharing your story and for making us laugh.
It's good. It's a good thing.
Because I think laughter should be on the list of like medical care options for postpartum. So
I rarely make New Year's resolutions, but this year I decided I love podcasts. But I sometimes get like too in my head with all the brainy podcast things, the heavy, not necessarily heavy, but I said to myself and my kids, I said, I'm going to make a concerted effort to put music on sometimes instead of a podcast and like listen to music because I love music. And so I'm trying
after
to do that
you
more.
listen to the I'm One podcast, then you go put some music on.
Then
Perfect.
you switch to
Great
music.
compromise.
There you go.
Yes.
This was a good chat. I like this.
Yes.
I love this for all of us.
Yes. Agreed.
Thanks for being here, Cecily.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thanks for tuning in to the I Am One podcast. Check out today's show notes where we'll drop links to all the important things that we mentioned in this episode. Please consider sharing about I Am One on social media and following and rating our show wherever it is that you listen to podcasts. It only takes a minute of your time and, well, that'll help our collective mission of bringing resources and local support to folks worldwide. From everyone here at PSI, thanks again for listening.